Hey everyone, I am so honored to be joined today by the matriarch of the beloved Duck Dynasty clan. She is a New York Times bestselling author, and she is a subject in the upcoming film The Blind, which shares the powerful testimony of her husband and her life and her family. Miss Kay Robertson, thank you so much for joining me today.
I'm glad I could be here.
It has been such a beautiful journey, your life. Watching the film, I absolutely loved it. I thought it was raw, it was honest, and I think that's what really people need in this time and age. But I wanted to start here. How was it for you,
Well, if
reliving?
you
That
saw
was
my recent picture that they put on, you can tell I cried most of the movie.
wow. I mean, it must have been really hard for you. That was probably one of the most difficult times of your life, and we got an insight into that. How was it for you to sit through that
It was
and
hard. It
just
was reliving a lot of bad memories.
yeah,
So it was hard, but it
yeah.
was worth it if it helped someone.
Yeah, and absolutely it will. The film is a testimony. It starts off really hard and it gets hard in the middle, but at the end there is redemption, there is salvation. Can you talk about some of the things that I look at your family. You are all destiny people. You're destined for greatness. You have used your platform to glorify God. I look at your children, your grandchildren, who are now doing the same thing. The enemy came to steal, kill, and destroy that, and that was lying on the matriarch, patriarch of this family. Talk about that, just seeing the assault of the enemy on your family. You lived through it, but now being on the other side and seeing the plan that God had.
Yes, it was hard, and you could tell that the enemy was coming after us, all of us. But I tell you, I have such, I feel like the greatest thing God ever gave me, besides of course, my husband, would be my children. And for them to hold tight and to not let the enemy destroy their marriages or themselves. And I'm so proud. I'm so proud they were all so strong, and down to the baby Jeff, which he's a 40-something-year-old man, but he'll always be my baby.
That's right. But you talk about your children's strength, but really, I was super impressed by your strength. The power of forgiveness that you displayed, I don't know a lot of people that would have. Talk about that, just being in the midst of such heartache, such betrayal and pain, feeling abandoned, all of that. But you were somehow able to dig down deep enough to forgive. Where did
Well, I
that
want
come
to tell
from?
you, it started out when I was a girl, and I stayed primarily with my grandmother because my parents owned a store and was working all the time. And we would sit on the swing, and she told me life lessons every day of my life. And a lot of it would be, she said, in my marriage, I was going to have to fight for my marriage, which I thought that was ridiculous. Why would I fight for my marriage? And yet it played out exactly as she said. And I think she kept telling me, you know that God is for you. And if he's for you, you can always win. But the devil is going to make sure that you do suffer and go through hard times because he wants to pull you back to his side. So I had those lessons as a girl growing up through a teenage. And I believe with all my heart, my grandmother's lessons, and just knowing and believing that I had God and he was going to be for me, let me be able to suffer yet still hold on.
Mm.
That's
If
what I did.
somebody
I held on.
You did. You absolutely did. And I thank God because look at what the Lord has done, through because everybody talks about the redemption story, right? How Phil gave his life to the Lord and the 360 that did, which is miraculous and amazing. But I don't even think that you guys would be where you are had you not forgiven, had you not allowed the door to still be open for
And
that.
that those bad years were 10 years. That was 10 years that I waited and went through the bad to get to the good. And I just didn't give up, is all I can say. And you say, how could you hold on 10 years? I don't know. You'll have to ask the Lord. But I knew that He could do it. And I really was about to lose it in 10 years because I was thinking, when is He going to help me and help Phil and, you know, make this happen? And as the minute I was ready to give up, that was the minute He decided to come right in and go to work.
Wow,
And we
that's
were,
amazing.
our life was saved.
Yeah.
And our kids have turned out to be great kids. I know every mother thinks that, but every one of mine, in some way, they wind up in their jobs and all that they share the Lord. They're constantly helping people. They have all this. In Jep's case, he does helps orphans, and the rest of them, they all have a job that through that job they can share the Lord.
Yeah, and they do. I got to speak to Willie the other day about this, and they have used their platforms to glorify the Lord. And this life is very glamorous, the being in the spotlight and the limelight, the way your family wound up becoming with the show, and just all the success and the money, it can take away from that. But all of your children have still remained about the main thing, stay keeping the main thing, which is Jesus Christ and glorifying Him. And
Yes,
that's
that
really,
has been such a joy. It really has. And I'm so proud of every one of them. They have their own way they do it, and they're all completely different. Willie to me is so funny because he's a funny guy. He loves to aggravate me and get me riled up. And he knows just the buttons to push, to do it. But we always wind up, no matter what we argue about, we wind up laughing at the end. And of course, we're never angry. We just have differences sometimes.
yeah, you guys are a beautiful family, definitely.
Thank you.
If there was someone who watched the film or is watching this, and they're going through that moment where they feel like, I can't wait on God anymore. This is too much for me. And we live in an age where, if it's broken, throw it out. You know how in other generations, if it's broken, you fix it.
That's
We
right.
do live in a generation that if it's broken, throw it out. If you had advice to give to somebody that is long suffering and they're just tired and they don't want to do it no more and they're about to give up, what would you say?
I would tell them to hold on, to understand that God has got a plan for them and they can't see it. And sometime for me, I didn't think I'd have to wait 10 years. 10 years is a long time. But I knew He had a plan. I knew something good was going to come from this. And no matter how many people, and I did battle many people who begged me to leave Him, to leave Him, to leave Him, and would tell me what to do. And I would say, no, I made a vow to stay till death do us part. And I'm standing by it. And yes, I'm suffering, but I believe that God will work in Phil's heart to change him. I don't know when, I don't know how, but I believe He will, and He did.
Can you talk about being on the other side? Seeing what God has done. Those were 10 years of your life that you felt were in suffering. You've probably had a lot more years now where you've been able to taste and see that the Lord is good, see His redemption in your family. Can you talk about that now?
The good, yes. I mean, it is wonderful never having to worry about him. When he was doing the bad things, and I'm not even a jealous person. I'm really not. But in that case, you knew there were other women. That was hard. Did I know him? Had I seen him? Who is it? That thing. And then there's so many. When he was not trusting. He didn't trust me. Well, of all things, I was the only thing he could have to really trust. But because he was not trusting himself, he would take it out on me. And then he would be angry at me and sometimes even blame me because that's the way the enemy works. And so many times I would cry because it hurt so bad. As much as I waited, as much as I love him, as much as I would tell the kids, We have to love our daddy and wait. We have to be patient. We have to know that God is going to change him, but we have to live with him now like he is. It was hard. It was hard for me telling the children. I know he embarrassed them. If he embarrassed me, he probably embarrassed them. But I told them it'll all be worth it one day. And of course, now they're so happy that we did wait.
How is it for you knowing that your grandchildren are getting insight into this part of your life? You know, the whole world is too, but you know, your family, they
Well,
get
it's real hard for the grandchildren because they only know the good feel, you know.
yeah.
And when Jep, who was, Jep's 7 years younger than Willie, so Jep never knew the bad feel. And he, when we'd talk about it, he would say, "That's not my dad. He did not do that. He just didn't want us to say that." And I said, "Yes, he did. Satan had a hold of him, but now God helped him get out of that. And he's a good man. He's everything." And I think the grandchildren would feel that about him now. They can't imagine him being that other person. But yet they've seen it, they've heard it, they got the movie they know is coming about it. I mean, they know it was real. It's just real hard for them to see him in that condition.
Mm. It's such a beautiful testimony. And honestly, I was so encouraged. I can't wait for other people to see it. Last
It needed.
thing, what do you want for people to take from it? You know, there's several things in the film that people can take from. What are you in your heart's like prayer? What's that? What do you want people to
But
take?
what I really want is the people out there that are in the same situation I was in. Do I leave? Do I not leave? How long do I have to put up with this? All this, and to learn it. In my case, it took 10 years, but look what we have now. The most wonderful marriage. We have actually been knowing each other 64 years of my life has been with him, knowing him. Not all married that time, but being with him, and there's not a greater thing on this earth. But see, it took patience, it took time, it took waiting. Now, I don't want any women to think they should go through abuse or anything like that. The only time Phil ever did that was there was a time he got a hold of some moonshine, which is horrible, horrible. And he was as crazy as anything you ever saw. And that was the only time that he ever physically hurt me. But he was like a crazy man, and nobody should ever partake of that. I'm telling you. And other times he could be cruel and just mean with words, very mean with words. And I know people know what that means and what that's like. It's not fun. It's not fun at all. So, but yet you just can't give up on your marriage, because what God joined together is supposed to be together and to stay. And sometimes we don't understand why it takes so long to get to the good place. But in my case, I'm glad I was patient 10 years. I'm glad I took our boys and talked to them about the reason their dad was like that. They did not hate their dad. They hated the devil that was in their dad at the time. And that's another thing that's very important for women to do. Don't talk to them to hate their dad. Don't do that, because it's not them, it's the devil that's in them. And so many people, I think, make a mistake doing that.
That is so good. That is such good advice. I'm going to be using that all the time. It's not them, it's the devil in them. So if you're going to hate something, hate that. That is beautiful. Miss Kay, thank you so
That
much.
is true. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, thank you. And I'm so glad that people are getting to hear about this, because I want our marriages saved. I want our lives saved. I want people to come to Jesus. And that's what we want for this film. And yeah, it's not easy to open up your whole inside. And it's like letting everybody see your guts, the
Hmm.
hard part. Phil, it's especially hard for him, because he has to relive the hardest part of his life that he's embarrassed about now, but he doesn't understand that this part can show people, look how bad he is and look at him now. And sometimes it hurts to show the inner self of you. But if you do it for the good of others and the glory of God, then it's worth it.
Yes, please thank him for us as
I
well.
will.
Thank you both. I know that it is not easy, but I know that it will break chains in other people. So we thank you both. God bless you.
God bless you. Thank
Take
you.
care.